In 1998, a stealth action game hit the PlayStation that would forever change what stories we thought video games were capable of telling us. Beneath the cardboard boxes and dramatic boss battles, Metal Gear Solid was educating us on real-world fears, genetic engineering, nuclear proliferation, and the ghosts of the Cold War. This is history through the lens of Metal Gear Solid. Hideo Kojima and Konami began development on Metal Gear Solid in the mid-90s, and it is clearly a product of that time. In the game, Foxhound's elite troops are enhanced through gene manipulation, creating so-called genome soldiers.
Genome soldiers in this exercise.
The genome soldier.
The genome soldiers.
Soldiers with enhanced stamina, strength, and even sharper accuracy and instincts. This isn't purely science fiction, though. In real life, the Human Genome Project began in 1990, with a goal to map and identify every gene in human DNA to find how traits and genetic predispositions were linked. Scientists all over the world collaborated together and over the course of 13 years successfully mapped all the genome pairs in human DNA, hoping to understand genetic diseases better. But Metal Gear Solid takes it further, asking, what happens when science serves war instead of medicine? The idea of designer soldiers, stripped of agency and modified by government labs, reflects Cold War anxieties about mind control, eugenics, and the militarization of biology. Near the end of the game, Liquid Snake, the primary antagonist of the game, reveals how he and the genome soldiers were cloned from, or at least had their DNA severely modified by, the genes from Big Boss, who is considered to be the greatest soldier of the 20th century.
Their plan was to artificially create the most powerful soldier possible. The person that they chose as the model was the man known then as the greatest living soldier in the world.
Big Boss.
But this enhancement comes at a cost. Throughout the game, genome soldiers suffer from seizures, instability, and strange illnesses.
1891, the Gulf War. The military secretly injected soldiers with the soldier genes. The Gulf War syndrome that hundreds of thousands of returning soldiers complained about was a side effect of it.
In reality, Gulf War syndrome is the name given to a range of unexplained symptoms reported by over 250,000 US veterans after the 1991 Gulf War. A 1990 to 1991 conflict in which a US-led coalition of countries expelled Iraqi forces from Kuwait after Iraq invaded and annexed it. The unexplained symptoms included chronic fatigue, joint pain, memory loss, and respiratory issues. For years, the government denied the connection between these symptoms and the soldiers' deployment. Theories range from exposure to nerve agents, depleted uranium shells, chemical weapons, to experimental vaccines given before combat. Whatever the real cause is, the game does a pretty good job of tying that real-world history to fit the in-game narrative of soldiers abandoned by the very institutions they once served. The genome soldiers are just another generation of veterans paying the price for black-budget science created to be expendable. The third major historical touchpoint in the game revolves around the big boy Metal Gear Rex itself, and the nuclear weapons talks going on in the background. In reality, international treaties like the START 1 and START 2 agreements and the proposed START 3 limited traditional nuclear delivery systems to missiles, submarines, and bombers. But a railgun? That's not classified as a ballistic missile. Since it doesn't use combustion or gases to fire, it falls outside the text of these treaties. By using opposing rails, one positive and the other negative, in conjunction with a high voltage current, a projectile, or in the case of the game, a nuclear warhead, could be launched at extreme speeds without leaving an emissions trail, meaning it would almost be able to launch with little to no detection. Think of it as a massive and incredibly fast slingshot.
Just as I thought, the nuclear warhead is designed to be fired from the railgun like a projectile. It doesn't use fuel, so it isn't considered a missile. That way it can get around all sorts of international treaties. It's a stealth weapon.
You mean it won't show up on radar?
Yeah, because of the missile rocket propulsion system, it would be picked up by enemy satellites.
Oh yeah, that makes sense.
But unlike a missile, the railgun doesn't burn any propellant, so it can't be detected by any current ballistic missile detection systems.
An invisible nuclear warhead.
Totally impossible to intercept.
Metal Gear Rex wasn't dangerous just because it was a mech with a lot of firepower. It was dangerous because of its plausible deniability. The railgun can fire a nuclear warhead without detection by satellite systems, and that means that any nation would be at the mercy of it without being able to counterattack or even know its point of origin. Rex represents the loophole, the way militaries bend treaties through new technology, and it echoes fears that the arms race never truly ended. It just got more creative. Lastly, let's address the final talking point of the game, and that is
Die.
by the time Snake learns about FoxDie, the mission has already become something far more personal. A retrovirus secretly implanted in his body is killing his enemies, not by chance, but by design. It's a bioweapon that recognizes DNA, triggers a fatal heart attack, and leaves no trace. It's surgical, silent, and selective. In 1998, this sounded like pure science fiction, but in the years leading up to Metal Gear Solid's release, defense analysts, bioethicists, and even world governments had already begun asking, what if viruses could kill based on your genome? During the 1996 UN Biological Weapons Convention review, concerns were raised over how advances in molecular biology and genetic engineering could be twisted toward weapons tailored to individuals or even ethnic groups. The US military, too, took notice. A now infamous line from the 1999 think tank report Rebuilding America's Defenses speculated about, quote, advanced forms of biological warfare that can target specific genotypes. Russia wasn't silent on the matter either. That same year, Russian officials accused Western nations of collecting Slavic genetic material for research into what they ominously called ethnic weapons. While these claims were unverified, they reflected a growing unease about the militarization of DNA. And while FoxDie isn't real, not yet, the concept is no longer so implausible. By the 2020s, breakthroughs in synthetic biology and gene editing tools like CRISPR have brought the idea of programmable, targeted viruses closer to reality. Ethically concerning, scientifically complex, but technically possible. In conclusion, Metal Gear Solid blurred the line between interactive fiction and geopolitical commentary. Its warnings about nuclear proliferation, treaty violations, genetic control, and the erosion of safety feel more relevant now than they did back in 1998. I'm Andrew, and this has been History Through the Lens of Metal Gear Solid, and I'll see you next time.